White responds to that with this move. D3. Now that looks like a very passive move here, and the only reason White did that was just to make room for his bishop. That there was no other purpose of that move other than to clear a path for his bishop. You can see that D pawn I have is already pretty inconvenient for White, because now he can't bring this knight out, and he can't really move any of these pawns either. So he kind of had to waste that move, if you will, with the D pawn in order to make his bishop accessible. So that just gives me tempo for my next move. And I move my queen here to c7. What I'm actually doing here is not only am I positioning my queen for a play on his king side later, but I'm actually setting his queen up for a sacrifice. I'm basically going to try to capture his queen here. Because if you look at the board now, White cannot move his queen anywhere. He can't capture the bishop. I mean, he can, or he'll come out way behind on that exchange. He obviously can't move to to any square. He can't go anywhere. He's blocked by his own pawn. If he goes anywhere in this diagonal, he'll be captured. If he takes this pawn, he'll be captured. So White's trapped. So, that being the case, on my next move, if I move my bishop here to b7, that will open up my back rank here, but White still can't capture any pieces without losing his queen, and he won't be able to move anywhere. So if on my next move I can put my bishop on the b7, I have White's queen. So that's what I was going for. And also, I'm creating a threat here on c2, so that's a multiple-sided threat, actually. I'm kind of attacking his king side, I'm attacking the c-pawn, and I'm setting up a sacrifice for his queen. So there's a lot of bad things now happening for White. Fortunately, White has one move that he can make. This is a pretty interesting move here. He brings his bishop out. Now, my queen is already on that diagonal, and I already own that diagonal. So it just kind of looks like White has sacrificed his bishop for nothing. But he hasn't, because my next move I intended on putting my bishop onto b7, forcing that queen exchange. But if I did that, then it'll be an even exchange, because he'll take my queen, and then I'll take his queen, and we traded queens. I don't want that. I'm already down material. I don't want to swap out my most powerful player. So I basically have to kind of scrap my plan for taking Black's queen and move on with my other plan, which is for my queen side or king side attack here. So I go ahead and take his bishop. Obviously, White responds. He captures my bishop. Now, his queen still really isn't in a very good position. She's still on the back side, back corner of the board, and now you can see that Black's king is already beginning to be threatened. So I continue on with my plan. I'm moving my h-pawn. That was a good spot, h4, because now if he tries if his next move is g3, I can now capture that pawn, whereas before I would have had to have moved my queen out of the way. So as long as I could get my h-pawn there, I was happy with that. And now this looks really scary for White, because now he's got a queen, a pawn, and a rook bearing down on him. White moves his queen again. Now this is pretty telling for White, because he still hasn't moved his knight, and his knight is trapping in his other rook. So he's basically at two pieces here that he's not using, and he's being menacing with his queen, and he's trying to kind of reposition his queen and attack with her, but there are limitations to what one queen can do, which you'll see here. I choose to block that attack with my bishop, because if I brought my knight out, it would actually trap my bishop in. So I'm using my bishop to block that check threat. And White goes ahead and captures my d-pawn. Now at this point, and we've seen this in some of my other games, the computer is intent on capturing as much material as possible. And when I kind of shift my focus from material gain to setting up a mating web, that's where our strategies vary, because the computer will often continue to try to seize material even when that does no good as far as giving it any strategic advantage. It just knows to always capture material. So in that sense, you can kind of bait the computer into taking pawns, taking insignificant pieces, all the while you set up a strategic attack on the king.